Aloha, Fierce Factor. How is everyone today? I had to say aloha because at the time that this podcast will air, I will be sipping a pina colada in Maui. Fingers crossed that we get through and everything is safe with COVID and I get to go enjoy a beautiful, relaxing vacation with my fam. So, aloha. So, I have a special episode for you today that is really about internal marketing strategies. And I feel like this isn't talked about a lot. We talk a lot about patient acquisition. We talk a lot about online marketing. We talk a lot about social media marketing. And I think that there is just one piece of marketing in our industry that is just massively overlooked, but is so incredibly important. And that is internal marketing to stimulate upsells and cross sells and reactivations and really looking at that experience that the patient who you already have treated or already is in your ecosystem or in your database, that experience that they have when they come back to your office, when they're, between procedures, after they've had a treatment done, what kind of marketing is happening for them during that period of time. And so I gave this training kind of as a side note or a piece of, I should say, sales funnel training in our academy. And I just thought it was something that I really wanted to share with you guys. I'm taking one piece of this training that's really all about my biggest pet peeves around what happens when we forget to market and take advantage of the real estate in our office and to kind of resell, retarget, restimulate with the patients that we have. And there are just some things that I've seen done exceptionally well with practices that have stimulated massive growth within the existing patients that they have, and some who have really missed the mark and really haven't realized it, and just certain things that they've overlooked or there's simply been oversight around. So anyway, I'm calling this episode 100K Hidden in Plain Sight, because I'll bet you if you take a checklist and go through these 10 things that I talk about in this training, you are going to uncover some cash that you didn't even know existed within the loyal patients that you already have who know, like, and trust you. That can happen very quickly. So I'm super excited to share this with you today, and stay tuned because I'm going to have a special invitation for you at the end of this episode for our upcoming Iconic Influence Bootcamp that I absolutely am so excited about, and I would love for you to be a part of. That is coming up on December 1st. So without further ado, here is your episode 100K Hidden in Plain Sight. Hi there. Welcome to the Fierce Factor podcast. I'm your host, Kaeli Lindholm. And I think it's time for us women to shift the conversation in business and step into our feminine leadership to do the most iconic work the aesthetic industry has ever seen. Each week, I'll be bringing a powerful dose of strategy, sarcasm, solutions, and sass that will rev up your creativity and ignite your brilliance as you link arms with me along our shared path of personal and professional growth in 20 minutes or less. Let's go. And so I want to kind of frame this up today, this presentation, in a unique way, because when it comes to internal marketing, this is really where you have so much control, right? This is a piece of your marketing pie that simply just needs effort. And if there are systems put in place, I promise you, you will uncover $100,000 this year within the scope of patients who are in your practice. And so what I want to go over with you today are some internal marketing mishaps that I see on a regular basis, AKA my pet peeves. And so I'm going to give you some real life examples. So I have 10 examples for you of scenarios that have happened that I have worked with clients on and have made tremendous impact on ROI when they have implemented these strategies. Okay, so the number one mishap, and these are not necessarily ranked in order, but they're just kind of 10 things as I was going through some old notes that, I really think that is something that's worth us talking about, is to have a treatment When a patient comes to you and they have a treatment done and then they leave and then nobody calls them, it's like crickets. Like, how was your treatment? How did it go? Or maybe there's one phone call to follow up with them, but there isn't really like, a follow-up booked, or maybe they've had a longer term procedure, or a procedure that's more comprehensive. And so they've had scheduled follow-up visits, and then maybe they don't show up, or maybe that's the end of their treatment plan. And so there's really nothing. It's like, okay, well, I had that done a long time ago, and I haven't really heard from that practice. I see this with more established practices. As their databases grow bigger, they tend to kind of let patients just kind of fall off into the abyss. And this is where that reactivation piece comes in. And so remember, if we're turning that relationship marketing arc, or that sales funnel, once they come in, we're turning that arc into a circle there. We need to be putting as much effort into the bottom half of that, into nurturing that patient and selling to them and creating an environment where we're treating them like we loved them. And after they came, just as much as we did in the beginning, right? Not just the courting process. I joked with you guys before, if you remember, about the dating process and how when you're dating and you're like on your best behavior, and I know I'll speak from my behalf, I always would like really plan out my outfits and what my earrings and, what I was going to wear and how I would look. And then, you get married and then you're like, I'll shower later. You don't want to do that. We want to kind of constantly be innovating and stay up on top of marketing for our patients. And so if you don't have a plan in place to follow up with that patient, they're not going to be able to stay, with you through this whole long-term, ecosystem of business that you're creating for them. Okay, number 2 is that a patient doesn't know about other procedures that are available to them. And so I had a client who invested in a new piece of technology and had a big open house event, and patients came in and, were like buying this procedure, and then they would come and have this treatment and then never come back, and didn't really dawn on us until we started to put the pieces together that patients were coming in for one thing, and there wasn't really a process in place to educate them about the other things that were available to them. And so, this doesn't just have to happen in the patient room because, you're a doctor, you're busy kind of addressing their needs, right? But have some sort of tool, a resource, right? So maybe it's a digital tool where they can scroll through, or a TV in your lobby, or a before and after photo book that kind of shows results from other procedures, so that when they're waiting for you, or they're, in your actual hemisphere, everything that they're seeing is really a piece of your own marketing collateral, right? You have their eyes and ears, they're in your office. So don't waste that putting Cosmo magazines out there. Put your stuff out there, give them your material, show them what you want them to look at while they're in your office, and make it easy for them to have a conversation with you, okay? So, some ways I've seen this done really well is just putting an iPad in the hands of the patient and letting them scroll through and look at different procedures that you offer, looking at before and after photos, or, little buttons that the staff could wear, like ask me about this procedure. You could maybe switch that up once a month, and just kind of taking a look around at the inventory of what's in your office and what is the patient being exposed to? What kind of messages are basically you paying, because you paid to get them into your lobby, right? Are you paying them to be exposed to? So, this is kind of one of the big mishaps and a pet peeve of mine, when they go somewhere else for a procedure because they just didn't know that you offered it. All right, number 3, the patient doesn't really have a reason to come back. So I hear this a lot when I say, let's work on really creating a more robust before and after portfolio. And, a provider will say to me, Kaeli, it's so hard for me to get before and after photos because when a patient is happy, they just don't really come back. Maybe a surgical patient, but someone that's coming in for a non-surgical treatment in some way, or there isn't really like, a reason for them to come and us to actually take that photo, or they don't care that much. Like, why would they come back, right? So you have to give a patient a reason to come back. Is there another treatment that they're going to have in follow-up? Are they getting exposed to your esthetician or to another, piece of your practice or another element or service that could really enhance the results of their procedure? What is in place for them? When is their next appointment? Do you have that booked, right? please do not let a patient leave your office without having their next one scheduled. I don't even get to leave my hair salon without scheduling my next hair appointment. That's 8 weeks later. We get that on the calendar. That patient is already locked in. They know what they're coming in for, and there's been a treatment plan that's already been addressed for them. So they have a reason to show up. If you are in the position that you're struggling with having patients come back for after photos, what's in it for them? I always look at, if they're not showing up, that there isn't enough value for them. So what's in it for them? What are they going to get out of it? Think through that. Is there an incentive for them if they do come for the after photos? Is it easy for them to come in? Is there another way that they could communicate with your practice that maybe they don't have to make the schlep to your actual brick and mortar, but you could have some sort of like a teleconference, or they could send, images electronically, and maybe there's an incentive for them to do that, right? Always give them a reason to come back. All right, next one is assuming that the patient's like maxed out, when they say, this is all I have to spend, I don't have enough money, or they really stretch to pay for this one procedure that you're doing. And so you don't want to kind of like jam in other procedures for them, okay? You guys know this is a big pet peeve of mine, because first of all, I always call BS when patients say they don't have enough money. Any kind of objection like this is basically just telling me, if you tell me I don't have the money for you, what you're saying to me is I don't value the offer that you're going to provide. There isn't an exchange that makes sense for me, right? So like the amount that I'm going to pay for what you're suggesting to offer me doesn't match. That's the only thing that means. So it can simply just mean that we haven't articulated the value well enough, or we haven't really understood the patient's pain point or problem well enough, okay? Now, there's really two sides to this coin. Number one, if the patient is potentially at max spend with you, are they actually getting the full but desired outcome that's going to give them the most optimal result, right? So I see too often we will offer a patient, they come in for one thing, and it's like, really, that they would get the best results with 3 treatments, but we'll just do 2 because that's what their budget allows. In the end, they're not going to get the outcome that they're looking for. They're not going to get the optimal result with you. And we're going to actually risk losing that patient to another practice because they haven't been satisfied. So what I recommend instead is taking a look at patients as they come in as, what is their value of opportunity for growth within your practice, and what are the next steps? I always like to talk with patients about addressing their needs on a timeline and budget that makes sense for them, and putting a longer term care plan together so that they know that they're going to get the results and you're the person that they should come to get those results. If you're constantly having a conversation about price with your clients, they're not valuing the hard work, the education, the craft, the skill, and the expertise that you're giving them. And I would seriously consider thinking about even allowing patients to come in and take advantage of you when you know that what you have to offer is worth a certain amount. So just assuming that they're at max spend, don't ever feel bad offering the best solution for the patient. I recommend giving them some options. So this would be the optimal option. This would be, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and then they can choose. But making sure that you're very clear with them about, if they're not taking the optimal option now, we're going to put a timeline together for you to come back in for those other procedures, because it's not going to be a win for you if the patient isn't happy and doesn't achieve the results that they're looking for. It's not going to be a win for them. And, what we don't want to do is risk them going out and telling a friend and, not really achieving the result that they should by coming to an expert. All right. The next one is that patient comes in, has their procedure, has consultation, comes back, procedure, blah, blah, blah. And through this whole kind of like courting and onboarding and treatment and aftercare plan, they're never asked, hey, do you have any friends that would be interested in coming? Do you have a family member? We have this program, right? This referral program or this friends and family program I wanted to tell you about. Who do you think would be, another great client or potential patient prospect for you to bring in to make sure that we give them optimal outcome and result like you have had with us, especially a happy patient. So don't let that go by, right? This is going to be the bread and butter of growing the business organically. So make sure that we always want to be asking and have a system in place to just ask the question, do you have a friend? Can you bring 2 friends or send 2 friends our way, and have some sort of, a program in place, if it's a referral program or a friends and family program that maybe would offer extra value for those patients. They're on the VIP list, so maybe they get special access to something or a little extra on top of a treatment, et cetera, if they're referred by friends or friends and family. We're going to have a module on loyalty programs. And so we'll kind of get into this into detail. I highly recommend, if you don't have one or a referral program, that we work together on our one-on-one meetings to get something set up for you. All right. I cannot tell you how many times I have seen this scenario, y'all. It is a true thing. Office is cluttered or dusty. So, true story. I was actually, when I was a sales manager, I went to meet with a practice with my rep in LA, like really hot med spa, and I'm sitting in the waiting room and I look over and it's just a huge, beautiful skincare shelf, like just overloaded, like way too much inventory, but it looked gorgeous and like it just looked abundant and, so inviting. And I walked up and I almost could see from where I was sitting, it looked like there was like a thick layer of like gray dust. And I thought, no way. These gorgeous glass shelves. And I walked over there and sure enough, the skincare was collecting dust. Some of the product that had been sitting there, I don't know if they were moving inventory from the back or they were just overstocked and not moving it in the front. I can't imagine that they wouldn't have a cleaning service, although I know some cleaning services won't actually touch your inventory. And so I went up to the front desk and literally asked on my own the receptionist to give me some Windex and a rag so I could clean at least the bottom shelf where I was sitting and I was looking at that product. And it just gives the impression that things are stale, that there's not innovation happening, that it's not a sanitized environment, right? Same thing with clutter. And even if you think, we had a client one time, just went in to do like a strategy blueprint with her. And she said, oh, well, come meet, took me through a tour. And I walked into her office and she had to like move stacks of paper for me to sit down at her desk. And she had the door open and sure enough, patients are walking by. And the first thing that I recommended to her was to hire a service to come in and clean up and get organized. This is a sign that, quite frankly, of laziness. It's a sign that I'm disorganized, that I'm not on top of my business, that I'm not managing my time well. I don't really subscribe to productivity, right? There's a lot of signals that this is sending to patients and to your team. You want to build a loyal clientele that wants to come back and be a part of, this experience with you. What are we showcasing? Is it our best self? And you do have trouble with like the organizing, there's plenty of companies you can call and ask for help, or even have your team get, you electronic or on a system that would free up space and give you just a better visual environment for patients to be in. So definitely just check. One thing I do recommend doing is just, even if it's once a week or once a month, coming into your practice in the morning, sitting in the lobby where your patient sits and just having a cup of coffee and spending 5 or 10 minutes looking around, taking in, all the views. We get used to seeing things. I know I do this in my house. I walk into my house and there's that picture that's crooked, or someone will say, oh, look, this is a great picture. I'm like, where was that? I don't even notice it anymore. It's the same thing in our business. We're moving in and out so quickly. Sometimes we just don't notice it, or we get comfortable with the clutter or with things sitting around. It just doesn't bother us as much. And so take the perspective of your patient. You may see like, oh, I see some trash on the ground, or there's a little cobweb there. There's an area that, could be cleaned up. Or you might notice, like, I would really add, if we put a plant there, it would be just a more inviting ambiance. or maybe you have some like old poster or banner or something there that's been there for a long time and it's time to like freshen up the office. So I highly recommend doing that yourself, you yourself doing that, and also in the patient rooms on occasion, so you can look and see not just, at surface level, as my team doing a good job cleaning up, but like, how do I feel as a patient sitting here in this room? Okay, the next one is no surprise and delight for the patient on their next visit. So I'm such a loyal consumer. So when I find somebody that does a good job and we gel, I stick with them for a long time. And I've been going to my esthetician. I started seeing her before I got married. So for almost 15 years. There's always a little something, and there's never a discount offered. I pay full price. I've always paid full price, but she always has like, try this little sample of the newest product, or here's like a little flower or a little something, or a bag of, goodies for you. There's always something that's like, every other time or so, it's just a little something I didn't expect. And some of you just give the whole, shebang, like they come in and they get this whole experience, right? You want to leave a little bit behind so that they feel like they're getting more than they expected. And so what kind of surprise and delight are they going to get? And every time they come in for their next visit. So I recommend either putting it in their file, like when they come in next time, they're going to get this little goodie. Maybe it's just a plate of cookies that you're going to have out one time, and even switching it up once a month so that that patient, like, what kind of surprise and delight are we going to give them this month? Or are we going to add a little something on? Or this month, like they came in, they already booked and paid for a procedure, and you're just going to give them like, hey, just because, we love you, we're going to throw in a little something extra today, or extra 20-minute massage on top of this treatment that you're getting, right? This type of thing. So be thinking about surprising and delighting. You want them to feel excited and wowed. And, we're creatures of spontaneity, and we love surprise, and, keep your patients on their toes a little bit too. So this is really a big mishap for me, that when the patient comes in, it's like, okay, here's what we offer, and there isn't just a little something extra that they get. This is really going to set you apart from your competition. And it doesn't have to cost a lot. It could be something that is just simply, an extra little handwritten note that they get to go home with, or, a $5 Starbucks, or, something that is just a super simple gesture that shows them that, you're really thinking of them. They want to feel like they're the only one there, that they're extra special and important to you. All right, the next one is when there's no conversation with patients about the future growth of the business. So I talked in the beginning about the whole concept of relationship building and earning trust. And if we're going to talk about and really change our approach and shift our mindset to looking at patients who come into our practice as somebody who's going to produce a lifetime value for our business, then we should be having conversations with them, in conjunction with long-term care plans, where the business is going. What are we looking at doing? How are we expanding? What's the future, right? I know you all here are already thinking about growth every single week, every single day, because you're here. So are you sharing that with your patients? Are you getting them involved and excited about the future with your business? They want to know that you are forward thinking, that there's going to be new things for them, new opportunities. Maybe you're looking at bringing in a new device. Nothing better than actually talking to your really valuable clients about what it is that they need, and what are your friends talking about, what's going on out there, what's the next thing we should bring in for you, right? Again, being obsessed with your customer, but having this conversation intentionally about the future of the business. I don't think that there's really been a more important time than right now, as we've gone through a turbulent 2020 in this kind of year. Even I know most of you in this academy are having just breakthrough record months following the pandemic. And you're showing your patients that, look, we're in really good position. We've remodeled our practice. We're doing this. We're adding staff. We're doing all these things for you. And we want to make sure that you know that you're in a safe place. We will gladly take the money for your loyalty program, and your membership will continue, and you will continue to get the services. This is an unshakable future that we have together, and we're going to be here as a partner with you to continue to grow and innovate for you. So this is just a really great conversation to have. And I would say even opening up this conversation with your team, certainly in the beginning, so they know, what's going on in the future. Again, always vision casting for them. and giving them the green light to have, aspects or elements of those conversations to get the patients excited about where the business is going. All right. Next pet peeve of mine is not having a loyalty program in place. And there's so many different ways to design loyalty programs. You can have loyalty programs even just simply around your retail products. You can have a loyalty program around, a certain element or division of your business, around one procedure. There's so many ways to shape this, but we're in loyalty program world. I mean, who doesn't belong to a loyalty program, right? I mean, I can tell you right now, I travel a ton, and my husband and I have always done business in Marriott's. And so we stay in Marriott's and we just continue to do business with them again and again and again because we're part of their loyalty program. There's perks and incentives for us to continue to stay loyal to them. And so why go anywhere else? And, we'll simply get all of the things, the late checkouts, the special rates, the points, all of those things. That's something we can certainly emulate in our practice. And I know many of you already do have loyalty programs in place. So then if you have one, is it working? Is it actually effective? Are you onboarding patients to your loyalty program or your membership program daily? What are the results? What's the ROI of the program? What is the retention rate in the program? What does the longevity of the program look like? So really not just having one there, but is there a system in place where we're constantly having conversations with patients so that they know about it? I would lead with this loyalty program that you have. This is our membership. This is exclusive for somebody like you. Here's why, here's what you're going to get. And it honestly makes the long-term care treatment plan such a smoother conversation, less salesy, more service-based. And when you have a loyalty program, they always want the goodies. They always want to feel like they're special. And so, this is just a must-have from my perspective. And again, most product manufacturers or injectable companies have built-in loyalty programs, but take it a step further and build your own loyalty program that supports and benefits your business holistically. And the next pet peeve of mine is not putting a long-term care plan in place. And I think this is very much talked about and very much under executed. And not everybody's going to be right for a long-term care plan. I get it. But having something in your practice where you can bridge the gap for that patient that's just coming in for the Botox or just coming in for that sculpture, right? To a treatment plan to help them solve their needs over time and become a longer term client of yours. If you have a tool in place that's going to help you have that conversation with them and uncover some deeper needs and problems that they have, it's going to open up opportunity for you to really address a lot of these other pet peeves or these mishaps, right? Like patient not knowing what else is available to them, assuming that the patient is at max spend, treating the patient like a lifelong client and being able to actually evaluate and calculate, what that client is worth, getting more referrals from patients. To me, it all comes down to at least having a system in place where they're on a longer term care plan. So sometimes it just takes building out even like a prescription for what your business has to offer. There's different ways to create this. I'll get into more detail in another module. Are you talking about long-term care with your patients? Are you thinking about them as, what is the lifetime value if they're going to continue to come in and buy skincare from you and buy non-surgical procedures, buy supplements, have their body composition checked, or, all these kinds of things? What is that worth to you over time? And if we start thinking of patients like this, like long-term bond and relationship and really understanding them, that's where these beautiful referrals, high-end clients come. And so I really think this is a big mistake on the internal marketing front if there isn't a long-term care plan in place for the right types of patients who would benefit from them. And then finally, never raising prices or just always discounting. Okay. So when you're not raising your prices, one, there's, inflation. There's the cost of your business is raising. You're bringing in more people. You're acquiring new technology. You're getting new devices. You're getting new softwares, right? You're hiring consulting. Your costs are going up. And in the meantime, you're just keeping your prices what they are because that's what they've been and they've always worked and no one's ever said anything to you. But in the meantime, your competitors are raising their prices and you're moving, your market position is changing unintentionally, right? Without you even realizing it. We don't need to go into more detail, but if you look back at a lot of the branding work that we've already done and brand positioning, there should be an intentional strategy about positioning yourself at the higher end of the market for the perception of quality. And so it is a natural thing. And it literally, I think we overthink this, right? Like, well, I don't know. How do I raise prices? When do I put it out? How do I, it's literally change of a pen stroke. That's it. It's very simple to change your prices. You simply, a 10% increase is going to happen. Maybe you can do like a sales conversion event, like, the price on this specific procedure is going to be going up. If you want to get on it now, here it is. But prices are going to continue to go up. The other kind of mishap that's related to this is always discounting. And the patient comes in and they're sitting there like, okay, well, I'll get that. And you're like, you're negotiating with yourself. You're giving them a discount. They didn't even ask for it. There's no reason for discounting. We're just doing it, right? This is a slow, leaky, road to closing profit margins, to really losing our trust with patients because they don't believe us and they don't believe in our pricing model and the quality of the services that we're offering. The other thing that happens is, I've seen this with actually many of you in the academy, you're doing Botox days or you're running your monthly, sale on something like that, right? Like on a filler. And they're just now waiting because you're conditioning them like, okay, well, I'm going to get that monthly special. So I'll wait till that comes out. I'll wait, right? This isn't a way to build a recurring revenue model in your business and to continue to grow, right? So we want to give patients a bit of a sense of urgency to buy. So if they know like prices are going to go up, this is a really nice strategy on the surgery side when you're going to raise your prices and you have a pipeline of patients who've come in for consultations, and you can let them know that prices are going to be going up. If you're still interested, we have a couple of, spaces available to get you in at that rate. But, obviously that's why you want to put a timeline on quotes as well when you give a quote to a patient. But we don't want to condition patients to be seeing discounts. I don't agree with discount, as you guys all know already, at all. It makes me cringe when I see you guys discounting on your Instagram. Please don't do that. It's just about value, right? Instead of discounting, look at that little tough love here. If your knee-jerk reaction is to discount, instead, before you offer that discount, think about how can I better articulate the value of what I have to offer so that the discount isn't necessary. I think discounting is kind of the lazy way of hoping that somebody will come in, but it doesn't attract a better quality patient. It doesn't attract a more loyal patient. And, eventually it's actually widening that gap or that hole in that gas tank, right? Because patients who are shopping for discounts and are looking for just the lowest price, they can easily go find the lowest price somewhere else and they're not going to be loyal to you. So certainly offering the special surprise and delight discount to an already established patient who's booked a procedure, that is something different to me than, every time they come in, they're expecting that they're going to get a discount. You're not confident in your pricing model or in the value of your results of your procedure or your service, then that's something that needs to be addressed before the discount. If you are a high-growth aesthetic practice owner or leader looking to elevate your visibility, get in position to attract high-end clients, and stand out in a crowded marketplace, I'd love to invite you to join me for Iconic Influence, a 5-day high-impact bootcamp where my team will help you create a growth blueprint to ignite epic growth in your business going into 2021. Here's the thing. If you're doing any marketing at all this year and you're not doing work on your influential brand positioning, you are flat out leaving money on the table. Maybe you're an expert of your craft, but not yet a master of growing your business. Or perhaps you're a practice manager struggling to help your MD owner see the bigger picture to scalability. Or maybe you just have explicit ambition to create a bespoke growth system designed to produce 6 figures in revenue in your business every single month. If you are serious about effortlessly attracting higher-end patients and team members who recognize your brilliance, appreciate, support, and uplift you, this bootcamp is for you. Sign up now for free at www.klcconsultants.com/bootcamp and save the date for December 1st for a transformational experience. I'll see you there. Thank you for joining me for this episode of The Fierce Factor. If you enjoyed the show, please make sure you subscribe so you can automatically get new shows every week. I'd also love it if you left us a review. And come join the conversation online. If you're an aesthetic industry owner, operator, or leader, please join my free Facebook group, The Tribe of Fierce Aesthetic Leaders, a community of ambitious, purpose-driven professionals who collaborate and share best practices for growth in business and life. I'm honored you tuned in.